My iPad just turned 5 p.m. You ready, Mr. Kalish?
I'm ready when you're ready. Looks like we're recording.
We are recording. Well, welcome everybody. I will call to order the June 10th Richland County Executive and Finance Standing Committee to order. Roll call, please, Mr. Kalish.
Carol?
Here.
Manning?
Here.
Gill?
Here.
Glassberger's absent. Woodhouse? Here. Turk?
Here.
Frank?
Yes.
Williamson?
Here.
Cooey?
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Verification of open meetings law compliance.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Everything was posted as perfect. Agenda approval, there's one typo in item 5, it is me. That, we have a 14-point agenda, looking for approval, Mr. Manning, seconded by Mr. Frank. All those in favor of the agenda as posted, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Minutes, approval of the minutes for the May 13th, 2025 meeting. Anybody see anything in there? Mr. Carroll?
I'm listed as absent, but then also I'm listed as moving to adjourn, so I think somebody else must have moved to adjourn.
Oh, that day, okay.
13th, okay, I will take a peek at that.
And you were not here.
So,
I thought maybe that was one day you were online, no?
no.
Okay. All right. Mr. Kalish has got the corrections.
I will adjust the roll. I'll double check the roll call and then for that motion to adjourn.
You can put that down to me.
Yeah.
We know who made the motion.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're right, I seconded it.
Okay, you said, yeah, but you weren't even here to say. Probably the wrong, it was Steve, but the wrong Steve. Let's go with that, huh?
Yes.
All right. Any other corrections? If not, let's vote on that one quick. Did make it a change. All those in favor of we don't have to vote on it. I'll declare it approved with the changes. Any public comment? Anybody, nobody in here? Anybody online with public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to reports. 7A, Administrator's Report.
So the first thing is I've added to the packet personnel update. We are working together additional data so we can not only get facts, but some analysis behind kind of the changes to our employees. So this report will be a work in progress and something we'll continue to make improvements upon. Also in the packet is a list of my goals for 2025. I wanted to share them with you so that you are aware of what I'll be working on for the year. I plan to complete a 2026 list towards the end of this year based on feedback from the board, department heads, and the community. Do you guys have any questions or concerns with the list that I shared?
Mr. Carroll.
I don't know if it's your new list or whose, but I still think there needs to be something to IS and board coordination.
So I met with Jason yesterday and we put together a survey that we'll bring to the board meeting later this month. We'll just have it, it'll be pretty short and sweet. We'll have it at your desks. Hopefully people can fill it out right then and there, give it to us before they leave for the day. Then we can kind of start making some next step plans based on feedback from the committee. The other thing that when I was meeting with Jason one day last week, he was showing me their help desk. And they actually have, because I think a question you had at the meeting was asking about what kind of calls they have and what kind of tickets come in. There is actually in their system a pie chart that's created that lists what those kind of calls are.
I would have thought.
So I did, encourage him to bring that even quarterly so that you guys have an idea of what are the things that they're working on a regular basis on top of their everyday projects. Yeah.
Any other further questions for the administrator in regards to her goal? More for us?
I do.
Okay.
We've been having some hiccups with the Tyler system with payroll. People are continuing to get paid, so there hasn't been an issue there, but it's really behind the scenes. Some of the configuration that happens sometimes just goes away. So we've been working pretty intensely with them to try to get all of that taken care of. It has not been a super smooth process, but we're continuing to work on that. We did provide guidance to the department heads on the capital improvement process. All of their requests are due to us by June 16th. We're also working on providing 2026 budget guidance to the department heads, and that will be provided to them on July 1st. We are working on ongoing maintenance of the wage scale. We've received the majority of the review forms back from the departments, and they've been turned into DDA for their review. The goal is to have all of the reviews completed by July 1st, so we know where they fall on the wage scale and if there's any movement. And then I've been working on handbook changes. My goal is to bring changes to the board in sections and hope that the process is more manageable than bringing the whole document all at once. At our meeting later this month, I'll bring the vacation and sick leave section to here, so that you have the opportunity to review that. We can work to take it to the full council. That's what you've been working on.
Any other questions for the administrator? From the group? It's not on.
We could, yeah, that could be part of my administrative report. Sorry. We did do interviews for the finance director about a week and a half ago. It was Dave, Derek, Stephanie from HHS, Tammy Newberry, and myself that were a part of them. We interviewed 4 individuals. We had received 8 applications, and we did not feel any of the 4 were a good fit. One of the things that we'll be looking at as possible next steps is to modify the job description a little bit and maybe look to hire a part-time finance director who can really just do some of the really big picture stuff, some forecasting, long-term budget planning, long-term capital improvement planning, policy writing. Maybe there'll be somebody out there who's retired but looking for a little something to do. That's kind of what our next option is, because we really haven't had a candidate that meets the qualifications of what we're looking for.
Question, go ahead.
Have we considered a consultant, some kind of a consulting arrangement?
We actually did talk about that too, that's something we could look into.
All right. Nobody else has questions. Let's move on to item number 8, discussion and possible action on approval of the public comment form. Item 8.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I can chat about that one, but do you have your permission to go back to item number 5 for the minutes? I think Steve's note of his, there's in your packet, there was the joint finance. So remember last finance meeting, we had the executive finance first, and then we had the joint executive and ambulance finance meeting second. So just to verify the record, for the executive and finance standing committee, I had Mr. Carroll present for that one, and Miranda had you marked absent for the joint JAC meeting.
Right.
So I think that's probably why maybe the minutes reflected that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think if I may, Mr. Chair, do you mind if I go back?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so the minutes for the joint JAC meeting are the ones you see on the screen there, and if you can see, Mr. Carroll, you weren't present for that one because that was immediately following the executive and finance meeting. So that's why you're probably, when you were looking at the executive, the regular standing committee meeting, you were here for that one. So there was both those sets of minutes on there, same meeting date for May 13th,
Okay.
but it was 2 different meetings. So I don't believe there's any edits to make to the minutes. I believe there's the set from executive and finance and the set from the joint JAC meeting.
So actually, meetings. would probably-
So meetings, that is my bad. I didn't realize both those were in there.
Yep.
So
I
it
forgot
is
about that.
meetings, which I kind of thought, how did we miss that on the agenda? But that makes sense now because we have both those meetings and it was kind of our norm.
Yep.
So I don't think there's any corrections to make. Okay, for the point of clarification, both those minutes are there. So I think that'll solve that if we're good with that.
Perfect.
Okay.
Forgot about that.
Sorry, not to interrupt, but
With that note, does the chair declare both sets to be approved?
yeah.
Sure. All right, when you're caught up on that, you can start with the public comment form.
You. So, those of you that were around may recall back, quite some time ago in October of 2024, I brought to you guys, to this committee, the idea of having a public comment forum for a couple different reasons. One, just to streamline the process of receiving public comments. Also to set a standard for how we handle public comments, especially in times when there is a large volume of public comment. While a prescribed form is not mandatory, there are numerous procedural advantages to having a standard form and then a company procedure in place to handle those. And I think we were prepping just for some big decisions that we're gonna have to make. You know, the campus being one example, we will likely have lots of chats about that. They're much bigger than just this committee, but in a larger setting. When we had the data security meeting as well, you know, we had a sign-in sheet for that purpose, but my hope was that we could come up with a standard public comments form, one that could be posted online on the county's website, would be available here as people come in. We will post the newest rules of the board, outline public comment and how that's to be delivered. So my hope is that we can come up with a form. So in your packet, you see versions 1, 2, and 3. And I didn't put them in there to make it more confusing, but this first one is the one that I brought to you guys back in October. And the thought with this one was that it seemed a bit much and that we were looking for maybe something that was more of a list, right? Where people, kind of a sign-in sheet, if you will. So I went from this form and then created this one, which, let me just tell you why, this one does look a little more wordy. However, this does have the rules for decorum when receiving public comment. So, you know, as we're going to handle these things, or just so the general public is aware of, this is public comment, and these are the set of county board rules that we as a governing body must follow. That's what we set up for ourselves, and then that's what we would, you know, expect for decorum to be, public comment decorum to be followed. This then would all be on one form. So again, this is posted everywhere. There's no need to then, you know, the rules are there. Everything to do public comments per our county board rules is listed there. Furthermore, you know, if we didn't have it on the one form, we'd have to then put the rules of the decorum in a couple different spots. And this condenses everything into one form that basically says, here's public comment, here's the way in which it can be delivered, and then please put your information down on the bottom there. Again, we can have copies here, we can turn it into a fillable form. We can make it very user-friendly, but it does capture the essence of what we would probably want in public comment anyway. So there's that one, and then there's an alternate to this version, which takes away the nice logos and again, is more of that sign-in sheet that you guys said you wanted. So I did review both this version 3.0, which I'm just loosely calling them this one, and the previous one I had up there with the turning window. You know, I don't want to speak for him, but I believe he's comfortable with either one. I think there was a preference for the one you see before you because it does capture the information in which we would likely want to catch for, you know, have for official record or public record, but then also has the rules of the decorum on there, so everything's in one spot. This has been modified to just be, you know, it's not just for county board, it'd be for any public comment in any committee meeting. And again, the rules, the county board rules, 4.07 sub B outline all that public comment decorum for a county board meeting or at any other committee meeting. So I'm presenting this to you guys today. If there's still more work that you'd like to have done to it or you'd like something different, I'm open to see that. But again, we kind of put this on the back burner because we were in the middle of lots of transition and getting that stuff squared away was of more priority than this. So I don't know if Administrator Clemens has anything she'd like to add, but that's my 2 cents.
And I think we have to remember too, it's optional for individuals to fill out this form. It's there for them. It helps them organize their thoughts. The one nice thing on there is the item I wish to comment on. Somebody can't come and talk about something that's not on our agenda. So if we're not going to talk about the campus, but they want to come and talk about the campus, they're not able to do that. And so I think that just helps people organize their thoughts a little bit. I do think having something like this though would be helpful for individuals who do want to come and give their input.
Doesn't 3 also point out which agenda item they want to talk about?
It does. Yep.
Yep.
One question, Derek, the public is welcome down in paragraph 3, I think. Welcomed to attend Richland County, oh no, sorry. Any person who wishes to address the Richland County Board, do we need to put and or committee?
Yeah, I mean, I copied that just because it's how it's listed in the county board rules,
Okay.
and I noticed that too, because if you read before the county board rules, it says that it can be used for any committee or whatever, but it's just in that specific
Oh,
rule, I think. That was directed for county board, but in the line above it in the county board rules, it says
Yeah.
for anything, so.
Yeah, the sentence above it does.
Yeah. Right, and I thought about doing that, and then I'm like, well, I only have so much room, and if we're county board rules exactly, it's what they are.
My question on 2.0 was something about, what if I wanted, I'm Joe Public, and I'm gonna comment on item 7 and 8, can I do them both in order and have 3 minutes for both?
Yes, I'd be, I mean, we usually,
Was Mr. Turk gonna let me do it?
yeah, I was gonna say.
Well, the rule says you get 3 minutes and you can only speak once per meeting.
Correct.
Okay, so then that's,
Obviously, a board chair could opt to the wrath of the other board members.
It's
Mr. Carroll.
two things. Either one's fine. I think maybe we'd say paper with version 3. But the other thing is, what do we want to do about online?
They would need to, obviously not fill out the form, but they could, in the chat box, say they have a public comment. I mean, I know some people use that, and I know we'll just watch it during the board meetings like we would now, for any other, public comment, so.
Go ahead, Mr. Turk.
And it's not required, so they
Right.
could still
Right.
say, I'd like to comment and be recognized and give a comment even if they hadn't filled this out. But this is gonna be posted online, correct?
Yeah, I believe most of
So
them.
they could even fill it out online and send it in if they wanted to.
Right.
The only question I got went back, looking back when we met for the campus that there was bowling alley and stuff. We don't have anything to stop, but there would want to be 100 people comment for 3 minutes, do we?
Well,
I think it would be within the chair's discretion to be able to say, this has been enough, we need to move on. And at future times, people can submit their comments, or they can submit them in writing, because that's one of the things that's mentioned
So
here.
we could finally put a timeline.
We could, and if we knew there was going to be something, we could maybe even define on the agenda that there'll be this window for comment.
Set aside.
Yeah.
Throw 10 names into a hat, and people get to talk, but that's the.
Mr. Frank.
So this is an optional thing if someone wants to speak, yet the item number 1 says, any person who wishes to address the county board for the public comment portion of the agenda must provide name, address prior to beginning of comment. You're saying it's optional, but they must provide it?
They can say it.
they can say
We
it.
can say it.
Tell us who you are and where you're from.
Oh, okay, that's the piece.
That's what we've done.
That's the portion, okay.
Or fill out
You can do it verbally or fill out the form.
Mr. Cooley.
The school board, you have to fill
Right. And there are other municipalities that make you submit it by a certain timeline too, like noon the day before. And I think I had that language in the other one, again, not to like try to limit public comment, but just to help us. Yeah, streamline and prepare, and then those that can't make it still have an outlet for public comment as well, right? They can fill out the form before, and I can give it to you guys as correspondence or whatever, so it's, it's not meant to limit anyone's time, it's really just a procedural thing, and then to, I guess, even allow more opportunities for public comment if you can't make it. They could always send an email, I suppose, but.
All I know is it's required before the meeting
Right.
starts.
Okay.
And it works pretty well. I wouldn't be against that. I get the being open to it, but it keeps structure to the meeting, and then you can go through and everybody who has a comment fills out the form. And there's certain meetings, right, where you're gonna have more comments than others. And it's, as we're waiting to start the meeting, anybody that wants to talk, make sure you get this form filled out. And then they just go by the first one who turned it in, you have, it's pretty well structured and it works.
And you only take them, Mark, when you're on that agenda item? Say I'm on agenda 5, okay, anybody with public comment, or do you do it?
I think there's a public comment part of it
Period.
you have to remember, and that's, then they bring up what,
Okay.
it keeps the meeting structured. So I guess I kind of lean towards that, is that if you want to speak, one, you should come to the meeting and speak. 2, you should fill out the form beforehand, and then you have your opportunity. That's where I'm at. just because it works well
Mr. Turner.
And if we wanted to go that route, we could, amend our rules to reflect that that's a requirement.
it's just something, if you don't have any problems with it, ain't a big deal. The day you do, when when a group is upset, then it needs that structure, I guess.
Mr. Gill.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the example with the guy with the tire proposal came or whatever, so somebody comes with a proposal, they don't fill out the form, they just start pitching their idea or whatever, what do we do at that point? We just listen to
So it's not on the agenda, I guess.
Well, if obviously the tire guy wasn't on the agenda,
Yeah.
so then how do we respond to that?
We've been fairly loose with our requirement that it be directly related to an agenda item. Especially if we decided to go with a formal written procedure, we could strictly say that, yeah, it has to be related to an agenda item.
So we got a mouthpiece.
Yeah, that would be what the chair would do.
And
is
then
to
what
say,
would be the
"All right, that's not-"
venue, the tire guy would say, oh, this isn't the right venue, but here's where your proposal could be reviewed, and then.
To the
Well,
administrator.
Does it
What
do
happened?
that, Trish? Okay.
Right.
I'm just saying is that we need to be clear then about how people can bring stuff and communicate with us outside of the agenda. And I think that's really important. And I hope we solicit public, I think public comments are great, and having more of them online or whatever, I think that's a healthy thing that we're hearing from the people that we represent. But also that, when we kind of close it down a little bit here, where people can't just talk about anything, which we've seen some of that, then we have to have a place where
Yeah, and if your item is not on the agenda, contact the administrator if you've got an item that, like the tire guy, for example.
Right.
I mean, he came twice, and I don't know if he didn't get the right direction as to what committee to go to start the process.
Give him credit for standing up and doing it and trying to.
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah,
Well, in the form, when it's posted online, it could have something underneath it that would say, for other inquiries, if the item you wish to discuss is not on the agenda, please contact the county administrator at this thing. And then, I really do think, we're giving people more potential to comment then, because there's an actual form online that's fillable, can be sent to us immediately, they can come get paper copies, and it's maybe giving those that don't have the opportunity to be here present, but a piece of paper that could be submitted, which, maybe they would, they could send an email or something, whatever, but I think this just kind of solidifies that process, and I feel like, we're trying to be as transparent as possible, right? Because that's what we want to be. So I think this is yet another outlet for people to provide public comment if they can't meet the prescribed meeting date.
And I think that's how we should pitch it, basically, is that we're opening up public comments, and it is a change, and if we could put something on our website, change the public comment procedure, here's a new form, you can do it online or whatever, communicate that this is a change.
well, and right now, all of our emails are available on the website too, but I mean, this.
But I'm saying
I
is
would,
that-
so we wouldn't go as far as to start reading these public comments if the people send them in. I mean, not reading them in a full county board meeting, we could post them in the packet.
I don't know if they need to, I don't
I
know if
just-
they need to be read.
Thinking about all these ideas that people are gonna ask.
Correspondence, we typically do put in the packet.
If it's addressed to all of you, it's a correspondence in the packet. And I think this really isn't a change. We've had public comment on agendas for quite some time now. All we're doing is saying, this is it's really more of a procedural thing. So this way we know how to govern the process. So if a committee has them, then the committee has that information to really just clarify process and procedure. And I think part of this is just because we're going through the way we do things, we're looking like Trish's example of in my handbook and the policy, we're really kind of looking at all this stuff that we kind of set on the back burner because we've been in lots of transition in the last couple of months. But really, we've always had public comment. It's been on agendas for quite some time now. All we're just doing is streamlining that process and clarifying that. So it's understood by all, in the room or what have you.
Mr. Frank.
I would recommend version 2. It's an individual form for one person to fill out. The idea of having a list means that who's going to fill it out? You're going to get one person and then 5 people are going to fill it out for the same topic. I really like version 2, one form, one person, one identity, one topic. I think that's the direction I would choose to go and would so move to that direction.
make a nitpicky feedback?
Yes,
Where we're quoting the board rules, we put quotation marks around that section.
yes.
Someone want to second that, we can discuss it a little bit. Mr. Cooey had seconded, discussion, group, Mr. Carroll.
Fine with that, as long as we make sure we keep the order of who filled it out first.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I like information Mr. Cooey gave us on how the school board does it. And, very good. Any other discussion? I'm in favor of number two. Well, I like one name, one person. And I think it's got a lot, 7 strong points there that I think everybody, they can read them. If no further discussion, I would call for a vote. All those in favor of going with 2.0 of our public comment form signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, that is passed.
Mr. Chairman, I may clarify, do you
Yep.
just want this to go before county board, or is it okay with this committee?
Because county, the board should see it.
Yeah.
That's what I was kind of thinking out there.
It's next week, right? With the idea that county board next week, yeah.
That's correct. I will take it to county.
Thank you.
Version 2.0. DK, there's 2.0.
Thanks.
All right, we are moving on to item 9, discussion and possible action on approval of a countywide vehicle use policy. Item 9.
So this is something that shortly after I started, Commissioner Elder came to me and said that Public Works has been asking for a vehicle use policy and discussion with him and Mike Windle. It was determined that we would probably be better off doing a county-wide vehicle use policy because there are several departments that have county vehicles. And so this is what we put together based on looking at other counties' policies, looking at some internal policies within other departments. We would not include the sheriff's department in this policy as they do have their own policy, and their own policy references weapons, references the lights and sirens. So there are different things that definitely need to be in theirs that doesn't need to be in all the rest of the policies. So this is what we did come up with. I did share this with all department heads that have vehicles. And I was provided some feedback from 2 different departments. So I am bringing it to you guys, and then we'll take it to Public Works and then full county board. Questions, concerns with this?
Let's get it on the floor, gentlemen. I'll make a motion, seconded by Mr. Cooey. Now it's on the floor. Go ahead, Mr. Gill. You caught up with.
What was the feedback? What did the department have?
Over at HHS, their feedback was just some grammatical errors that I had made on there. And there was some inconsistency between manager and supervisor, so we clarified that. The other feedback that I received was from ambulance. One of the items in here is that we need to have them not use handheld phones while driving vehicles, and they did have some concerns with that.
How are you going to check the Wisconsin Department of Transportation to make sure the employee has a valid license? You do that through the sheriff's department?
We would have to see if that's through the sheriff's department or if we're able to do that on our own, so we
Yeah.
have to figure that out.
So I think the sheriff's department, that might be a problem because it's not a law enforcement use under the CIP rules.
I know that in Vernon County, they ran mine to ensure that I had a driver's license, so we would just have to try to figure out what that process was.
Yeah, I don't know how our HR person at Hartung Brothers does it, but she's gotta pay for it. It costs.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an online way to do that.
Yeah.
I know banks do that all the time. Yeah, okay.
I haven't read through this. Do we have a cell phone use policy within there?
I just say that you have to have you're using cell phone, it has to be
Hands-free.
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 Thank you.
That's what we have at Hartung. So they had concerns at
They wanna be able to-
EMS. Mr. Carroll.
Other departments, I mean, I don't know the extent of how much.
So I sent it to Kathy Cooper at Land Conservation and Zoning, Brittany Paulus over at Pine Valley, HHS, ambulance. Josh at Highway looked at it. I think those are the main ones that have vehicles.
Okay. Do we have, another thing we have at Hartong's is in case of an accident, it's right in every vehicle. A phone, you know, bing, 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 what they have to do, what they should do, what they act by. As far as here at the county, if they're driving a county. I mean, that, just something we got. I don't know if it's something to be.
Well, this item number 300 used vehicles does say immediately after they've notified, what's it say here?
Under, on the second page, employee responsibilities, if the employee is in an accident while driving the county vehicle, they shall report the accident to law enforcement and then to their department head.
Are you looking for more than that, Steve, or is that?
No, I can cover what we use. I don't think it's anything needs to be out of this, so something that none of us need to prove. Sometimes your insurance company, what they want. We're self-insured, so. Any other comments from our group, Mr. Gill?
The handheld phone thing, I'm thinking about GPS. People are using GPS and, you know, looking at their phone, whatever. I mean, well, that's, God, this sort of excludes that, basically. If you're using GPS on your phone, basically, that's a.
And my recommendation to Mr. Justin, when I talked with him, was you need to have Siri set up or whatever, you know, to say, Siri, give me directions to this spot. When they're driving the ambulance, there's always two in the ambulance, so one can drive, the other one can look up the instructions. If Mike is the lead car, he certainly can take 30 seconds to program the instructions into his phone. It talks to you, it talks out loud that you don't have to. What I said to him is, we don't need him crashing on the way to go to save somebody
Sure.
else's.
Mr. Frank?
So I'm gonna expand on that a bit. I think that the phrase needs to be clarified. Use of a handheld phone is not permitted while driving in the county vehicle. That means I cannot use this phone while driving in the county vehicle.
Okay,
But I can use it for GPS. I can use it to talk as long as it's hands-free.
Mhm.
But looking at that right now, when I say use of handheld phone, tells me I can't have my phone used at all. I think we need to clarify what that means.
okay.
I think that's what you're trying to get.
So it should
Yeah.
be hands-free.
Yeah, hands-free, I think.
Okay.
Right.
And, yeah, use of hands-free phone is permitted. Is permitted, so now. I think maybe that's what the ambulance was getting at. I don't know.
Got what you need so far. Anything else, Mr. Gill?
Do we have a lot of cars that are, employees are taking home or whatever? I guess I'm not really, I don't,
Well, it started at Public Works, and we had supposedly people seeing somebody pulling a boat with their county vehicle. Well, it wasn't. But you know how people talk, so it's like, all right, let's get a policy.
who needs a county vehicle, or how does that work or whatever? Is there a level, or how, you know, what's the?
There's three, commissioner, then we have Derek Brown is the county, and Lonnie Hatch is the state superintendent. And I believe one other guy, so they rotate when they're on call.
Okay.
So then they take the vehicle home, basically, and so if they're on call, they have to go check roads during the winter months, and check temperatures. Those are the four that Mark and I are well aware of because of being on.
That's a pretty small.
Highway department, but then there's others, I mean, we have how many county vehicles across the road?
Buses, 4 total. We always have, maintenance also has a vehicle. I forgot, I did share this with Randy Nelson too.
And then, yeah, Randy's got one of the old highway shop trucks or county shop trucks. We've got a couple old squads out at the highway department, so. They've got a snowplow truck, right? I don't know, it's probably under 20, I'm guessing that, as long as we're excluding the sheriff's department, which we've already.
A little different.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just trying to get a sense of, you know, how big this thing is, and then how do we assign that, or whatever, is that part of a question, or how do people get,
So I know out at HHS, they have a policy in place that talks about if you want to reserve a car, here's how you do it. I think Pine Valley, theirs are just used by their drivers, because I think they have a bus out there, and then they have their maintenance vehicle, and I think that's assigned to him. I don't think, other than highway and sheriffs, I don't think anybody takes the vehicles home.
Okay,
I think those are the only two departments that people take it home.
so it's by department more or less, is
Correct.
Correct.
Thanks.
Yeah, and it's really not that many.
Okay.
But again, people were seeing things.
Yeah, it's always the case.
What else do you need from us? You want us to approve and move on back to public work, what correct? So any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of moving this to public works, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, one step further. Item 10, discussion and possible action. Resolution approving an intra-departmental partnership of MIS Land Information and the Sheriff's Department applying for and accepting a NG 911 GIS grant from Wisconsin's Department of Military Affairs for 2026.
Clay should be online to speak to this one.
Mr. Porter, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Can see him.
Hear you.
All right.
There you go.
Hey, how are you?
So I guess it would probably be the next two items actually are a continuation of grants that we've been applying for the last several years. Largely, they enhance our 911 systems. So both the GIS and the PSAP grant, both they tie into 911, making sure we have accurate and current maps, making sure that our boundaries match up with the boundaries of the counties surrounding us. But again, this is to enhance 911 and make 911 better for dispatch and therefore for the public. So we're asking to apply for both the grants. And I don't know if you want to take them both at the same time. The GIS grant deals with the mapping side of things. And then, anything, the maps, anything like that touches 911. The PSAP grant, anything that touches the dispatcher, the call taker, that gets that 911 call dispatched out to the road. So we've used that we've replaced our 911 system, our call taking system. We've changed out in the past, we changed out our emergency medical dispatching protocols from old flip chart thing to computerized. Actually, we're just wrapping that up now currently. But we're looking to continue to enhance our 911 system and keep moving that forward. So any questions for me about the two grants?
Mr. Carroll?
Grants are up to 750,000, but you guys determine amount you are targeting or what it is you want to expend on?
Actually, that was supposed to be adjusted. I don't think the limits have been set. Bob maybe has some more insight on that.
Correct. Yeah, so the limits for this next grant round 2026 have not been set yet because we don't know what the state budget numbers are. OEC, Office of Emergency Communications, is trying to get this grant out as soon as we can, and they're just suggesting people use last year's information. That might change, but at least you got something to start with. So the match could be different. It's 10% last year. The max was 750,000. It could be more, it could be a little less.
Right, but I mean, you're not asking for a full 750,000, or is there a specific number?
No.
That's what I'm asking.
Right, the reason the grant was put this way, or the resolution was put this way, is to get up to the max. Because we don't know what that number is going to be, and they don't have all their numbers for the grant process coming up. But they know, then the resolution is there, and we know they can spend up to that amount.
Understood, but I'm asking, is there a specific expenditure you're hoping to get the money for?
So we're still working on what exactly we want to fund with this round of grants. We've made a lot of progress in the last few years with the grants. And I don't know if I mentioned earlier, it also helps offset the cost of training. So in addition to equipment and technology, we can use that to help train our staff as well. So I don't have a total dollar amount that we're going to ask for as of right now. We were still working on that when we put these resolutions together. But hopefully we'll have something here once the final language for the grant letters come out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, one of the concerns is that as soon as OAC finds out what the budget is, they're gonna put the grant out, and it'll probably have to be turned in by August or September. So the time frame's gonna be really tight, and that's why some of these counties are getting these pre-planning things done.
Definitely. Well, we don't, technically you're saying there shouldn't be a dollar amount in there right now, or do you want
Well,
up
the
to?
dollar amount in there is the max.
Yeah.
Of what you could get, so it could be, less than that's always okay too.
Up to.
Right.
Any further questions for either Bob or Sheriff Porter? Go ahead, Bob.
One more. So I did notice in the resolution, it talks about MIS applying for the grant. I know that the rules of the grant say that a designated public safety answering point that meet the criteria may apply for the grant. So it says the PSAP may apply. Sheriff Porter, do you know if the other grants were signed by you initially or by MIS?
So I know the last one, 2025 round 2, I signed. I believe that, don't quote me on this, I believe Barb might have been the point of contact on the round 1 grants
Right.
for 2025.
I believe MIS was the contact, but I believe the signing authority in this needs to be the PSAP, which would be.
Okay.
The department.
Well, so I know when we submit these grants, part of the application has always been, we need that letter designating that we are the sole PSAP or primary PSAP for the county. So I know we do submit that resolution that we passed probably 2-3 years ago now,
Right.
naming my office as the PSAP.
Right, I'm just curious about the signing of the grant. I can check that at the next meeting too, but I know this resolution, MIS can sign for it, but I don't know if that meets the grant criteria. I'll ask that question,
Yeah.
but I won't know that for another month.
You'll find out on your end. And
I'll find out from OEC.
Okay,
on that side.
and let us know.
Yeah, but if this has to go to resolution next week, it says MAS to sign it, but that may not be accurate.
Which we could amend.
Says MIS can apply for and accept. It doesn't necessarily say sign.
Okay, so as long as the sheriff signs it.
Yeah, that would be my interpretation.
That's fine. Yeah, I think as long as the sheriff signs the grant, that's the intent.
Yeah, and you're right. We've had resolutions in the past where we specify who's going to be signing on behalf of the county. So
Right.
it doesn't say that here, but
But MIS is the ones that are going to apply for it?
Well, joint.
Yeah, we work together on it. Yes.
Okay.
The other thing, Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes.
it says Rule 19. Rule 19 of the rules of the board that doesn't exist any longer when we adopted our new set of rules. So I'm going to, can we just strike Rule 19 since it doesn't exist? Is there anything else you would like to substitute in there? Or can we just strike that? Because Rule 19 doesn't exist.
I would say you can remove that. Is there anything anybody thinks we need to add?
So it's a procurement policy that outlines the need to do this, that if you want, we can just add a procurement policy.
make that the citation.
So for this resolution for item number 10, agenda item number 10, the only thing we will do is strike the Rule 19 reference and reference the procurement policy in its place. Are there any other changes to this resolution that you guys would like to see before it goes to county board next week? Or is that it for this meeting?
I think, are we all good with this one as is? I don't think we actually took a motion in a second to. move it up.
No, I just, if there's any other words
Yeah.
that we can do it now. I just want, because both the resolutions are actually kind of similar in nature, so I just want to make sure.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I have a question where it talks about funding and upgrading equipment. So is this strictly money, or could, use for an example, the Bearcat, could yet be upgrading to a newer piece of equipment like that, or is this strictly money?
It has to touch the dispatch center. So no, that kind of equipment would not be applied. So it's got to be something, either for the GIS, it has to do with mapping, contracting services for mapping, upgrading mapping, that kind of stuff. For the PSAP, it has to be equipment or technology that touches the call taker. So no, our armored vehicle or that kind of equipment would not apply here.
Correct.
Any other discussion on that? Very good. Move this on.
We're approving these with the amendment about Rule 19.
We're just doing 10 right now, Derek's got 10.
This is number 10, what you have before you,
Yep.
is agenda item number 10.
We're gonna approve them both while the sheriff's on here, but right now we're just doing 10.
That's correct.
But he's got some retro made on 10. And we can move on to 11 and then just both together. Yep. Which is fine with me. Anything on 11? Let's see.
This is number 11.
All right. So it's got 19 in there again, Rule 19, which will change those out again. %. Sheriff Porter, anything else you want to add? We're just glancing over 11 before we'll approve them both on at the same time, but you're good? That's something.
You're muted again.
That pesky mute button. No, I don't have anything else to add.
Okay, thank you. Anybody on the committee? We talked about these enough, move them on to full county board next week, please.
As we change the language in that one, both of these forward as we amended.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Carol, motion by Turk, seconded by Carol. I think we've discussed it enough. All those in favor of moving both of these on items 10 and 11 to full county board next week signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Thank you, Sheriff Porter.
Thank you.
Item 12, correspondence. Anything? None? Nothing from you? Nothing from our group? Future agenda item. We have the next meeting set for what, the 23rd? June 23rd. 5 PM again?
June 23rd?
Monday.
Yes, the fourth Monday.
You need it?
Yes, so yes,
Got some Pine
No,
Valley
we don't
stuff.
need it, we're just gonna get together.
Yeah.
You're gonna make.
Anybody,
You're gonna be finished?
No, you probably.
anybody have any agenda items? Mr. Cooley?
Well, I just went through a lengthy process to figure out the survey and the property lister and so if you have property and you get a survey, we need to define what type of survey we're going to use that's valid. Okay, so the problem is that multiple people talk through this and our surveyor said that you could get this survey and that survey. I'm not gonna get involved in the weeds on what's what, but then when we go to the property lister, then you can only use this survey. So there's some confusion on what we require to make changes to property or adjustments to property. Because unfortunately, some of this stuff through the years, and we talk about this in zoning all the time, how we're cleaning up ag residential from whatever, you know what I mean? So this is kind of another thing. As these properties break apart, I think we need to define what we're going to do and what we're going to use. And once we define that, and I don't know which group it goes to, but it needs to go to them and come up with a policy. And I would encourage that we have multiple, that the surveyor is also involved in that conversation. Because it was two different things told to one person. they did one thing, they should have done the other thing.
Expenses were incurred, I
Well,
assume.
it's $5,000 to do a survey, and if you did the wrong one, you're most likely not gonna spend another $5,000 to do another one, right? So we just need to get that. It's just another thing that needs to get cleared up. It's been extremely painful, I'm gonna say, because I've been told several times it's taken care of and it was never taken care of. So at the end of the day, we need to straighten.
Yep, I've got the same situation with my son.
So we gotta get that straightened out somehow, some way, something. And like I said, I have an opinion of how we should do it, and we should do it the best for the taxpayer. We all run, I mean, this runs because of the taxpayer, and I think we have to take their interest. That's the interest we need to be looking at.
And we can, once we get it on the agenda as well, what's everybody else doing around us?
Well, and that's the other thing, what does everybody do? Sounds like everybody does it, whatever, but everybody does different, whatever. I'm not saying we did anything wrong. What I'm saying is we need to define what we're going to do. And we need to straighten it out and get the stuff straightened out, because it causes people a lot of pain, to say the least. And unfortunately, what has happened over the last 100 years is much different, you know what I mean? So they split properties and they do different things and they did different things. We just need to get straightened out. And we need to give everybody the correct opportunity, correct information so they can do the right thing. I guess that's where I'm at the end of the day. And I think when we need to go back, if we have these instances, whatever's happened in the last, we need to fix it. And that's my other point, is we need to get it fixed. Because otherwise you got assessment rolls that are not right. And it may only be a small amount of money, but it still needs to be right. And so that's my township part of this. So.
Anything else? If not, Mr. Manning has a job. Seconded by Mr. Carroll. Steve Carroll, seconded the motion.
I got it. First
All
time in.
All those in favor of adjourning until June 23rd, signify by saying aye.
I.
Adjourn. Under an hour.